Hi friends, welcome to another quick little editing tutorial. For this one I'm going to be using a photo that I took of my friend Regan during one of our Universe Decides photo challenges. For more information on what the Universe Decides photo challenge is, the link is below in the description. What I'm going to do is just show you my usual standard workflow that I use when working with photos in Photoshop, in addition to showing you one of my favorite LUTs or actions that I use to help ensure that my black client's skin tone actually reflects their actual skin tone. A lot of times presets and things like that are used in Lightroom tend to cast a more of a yellow tone onto our client's skin, which can take it further away from what the skin actually looks like. So the LUTs that I'm about to show you make a huge difference in ensuring your clients actually look like your client. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to utilize frequency separation. If you're not familiar with frequency separation, you can just Google it, and there's a ton of different links for you to download the action for free. The other thing to know about frequency separation is, what does it do? Frequency separation essentially takes your main image and separates it into two layers. One is going to be colors, and you can see it's a bit softer, and one is going to be texture, so you can see it's a bit grittier. So this allows me to work on the skin tone without ruining the actual skin texture, so she can still look like a human essentially and not like a mannequin, depending on the level that you use it to. Now for this particular shoot, I am going to be doing more of a high gloss look, just because that's what the shoot was about. It's kind of like a bikini shoot, like a bit more glossy, magazine-y, Sports Illustrated-y kind of vibe. We had a bright sun, so the highlights were popping. So I'm going to play that up a little bit. But for my usual work, I don't do as extreme as I'm going to do here. So the best part about it is that frequency separation itself is its own layer, so you can go all the way with it and then decrease the opacity to get it to where you want. So let's get going. All right, so I tend to mostly just work on the color layer, and I use the patch tool. Whether or not this is right, this is what I always do. One of my favorite things to teach is that what I do is not the right way to do it. It is only the way that I do it, and it works for me, so that's what we're going to do. Now, I'm not going to do too much blending here, but essentially what I'm just trying to do is blend the dark parts with the bright parts for the moment to just smooth it out a little bit. Now, depending on what your studio kind of philosophy is and the why behind your studio, you may want to do more intense skin retouching to get rid of any skin texture. For me, and for this particular shoot, I made sure it was okay with her because it was a creative, that we could showcase her stretch marks, because that's what I wanted to. They're just part of her. They're just part of her. They're not good or bad. They're just part of her. So I don't want to make them go away completely. But you can utilize frequency separation to do that if that is if you're more after more of a high fantasy retouch. So I'm going along and I'm basically just blending things together color-wise. Again, not really touching the texture. The texture will remain what it is. And that's pretty good there. And then over here as well. So usually around the groin area is where there might be a few like stray hairs or things like that. But again, you want to make sure, what are your studio policies? My studio is a pro hair studio, which means if you have hair on your body, we will leave it in. But if I know ahead of time, like if you're like, if you're a client and you let me know that, oh yeah, I like went for a Brazilian or a bikini wax before I came, then I know any stray hairs were not wanted. Then I can take them out. So again, we're just going along, just kind of smoothing out the different areas where the skin is a bit more patchy, just because of the way the light fell, nothing more, nothing less. I think it's really important to note that even just because we were shooting with such hard light, one tiny move in one direction could have put more in shade, less in shade, and so on. And one of the things I usually dislike about retouching videos is people blame the client's skin. No, it all comes down to lighting. So it's never your client's skin that's the problem. All right, so we're going and we're just doing and we're blending. There we go, perfect. That's good there. We just have an extra line there. We're just literally blending things to smoothen them out. So frequency separation, I consider it kind of like using your beauty blender if you do makeup. It just makes sure that everything is smooth, so when it comes time to apply color, then you will have a very clean surface to kind of apply the color to. So it will apply the way that you actually want it to, instead of soaking into certain places more than others. So that's what this does. I just love, like, this is such a strong pose. I don't know if anybody else thinks it, but I don't actually care, because I like it, and that's the main thing. So once we get to the face, this is where you have to, when it's further away, usually it's more texture that has to, the texture layer you have to work on more the smaller the thing is, the smaller the image is, but that's okay. We'll do as much as we can with color, and then we'll come back around for the texture, because I have to also work on those lines in the neck. Lines in the neck are something that's totally common for people, but something that I personally find distracting, so I tend to lighten them at the very least, just for no other reason than they're just distracting to me, and I don't know why. It's just something that I notice. Again, everybody's going to be different, kind of what their preference is, so this is really just to show you the technical bits. So you can see here, as I'm going over the texture, it's actually fucking up the skin a lot. And I'm going to zoom in so you can see it. This is what you got to be careful of. See that? It looks like I'm doing something total, like just putting a layer over top, and I do not want that. So this is where you can either work very small, make very small changes on this level, or you use like dodge and burn, where you will work on individual pixels essentially. But personally, I don't take the time to do that, because if anything's going to take me longer than 10 minutes, I didn't shoot it the way I should have. But again, just my policy. There are retouchers out there that do amazing work, that spend a lot of time making sure that the final product is amazing. I am just not one of those. Especially for, like, I don't know, fun projects. I think for me, it's rather just, for me, it's more the done is better than perfect mentality, because otherwise I could spend forever. I just realized that made that look like she's got a bumpy over there. And we go, we just blend, and we're literally, that's all this is. It's just continual blending of the skin. And we are going to move on to the next section shortly here. I just want to even this part out a little bit. Again, shooting into hard light, you are going to see a lot more skin textures, like shooting with strobes. So it's really important to just be aware that, okay, if this is the type of lighting that I'm going to use, then this is what I can expect from how the skin will show up. And of course, everybody's skin texture is different, so you want to take that into account. Based on your client's needs and your studio policy. Alright, we're going to assume that that is sufficient. Alright, we're just going to zoom out for a second. So when you feel like you're getting too much in, the other thing is this photo's further away. And I know it's not going to be on a billboard, so I don't have to go in too intently. We're going to go on the lines on the neck and just kind of blend them in a bit, if it will allow. And we're just going, Again, you can see this whole time I've used just the patch tool. And again, this may be the shittiest way to do this, but it works for me and gets the look that I usually do for my work. So, I don't know. If you like the way I shoot and the way my work looks, then this is how I get it. Okay, now I just butchered that because I was talking too much. Dang it. That's the thing. Talking about this and doing it are two very different things. Talking while doing it are two very different things. Alright, here we go. We're just gonna blend a bit more. Move away from the texture layer. Move into the color layer. And we're just going. Okay, soon that should be sufficient enough. Good enough for the next segment. So once we are done with frequency separation, even if we're not done, we're going to pretend we're done for now because I want to move on. Remember, done is better than perfect. All right, so that is, oh, maybe I'll figure out what I did up there. We're just going to get a few bits. Just a few little bits. So the next thing we're going to do is run an action called inverted high pass. And again, this is something you can Google. And Google will give you the directions to create the action. I just ended up creating mine like years ago, so I couldn't even tell you where I got the information from, but if you Google it, it will show up. Now again, not everyone uses inverted high pass, just an FYI. Another way that you can get a similar action to it is by grabbing Jen Swedine's retouching actions. Again, I don't make money off of that. I am just simply telling you because I think it is a good thing to have. So I'm not an affiliate, it's just a good product. I believe in sharing good things when they happen. Alright, so we're going, and you know what, we're just going to fucking smooth this out, because we're going to smooth it out in a minute anyways. We're going to just go to town on it. Sometimes skin retouching is an absolute bitch. But for today, we're just going to smoothen the shit out of it, because it goes with the vibe. So again, if this was not shot with hard light, also I think if I remember correctly, metadata wise, this photo was taken at like I want to say like f16, like, so everything's in focus. Normally in my studio stuff, I shoot at like f2.8 or less. So the skin retouching is not nearly as in depth as it would be out here, because you don't see as much texture. But for now, this is what we got. There we go. Looking good. Saucy lady. Alright, so let's go take a look. Back it up. Beautiful. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to flatten that. So now we're going to run that inverted high pass that I talked about. Essentially, this is just going to create a smoothing action, which I'm going to paint with a white brush onto the black mask. This is basically just showing me what lies underneath it by painting with the white. It's showing me what's underneath that. And then we're going to bring that opacity right down. But this essentially just brings it all together kind of glossy-like. And then we're going to flatten. Now the next stage is where we get to apply the actual tone. So that frequency separation and then that inverted high pass, that is my foundational work. After that, I can do literally anything in terms of color that I desire. So for this particular one, we're not going to do too much. I just want to change her skin tone to reflect what her actual skin tone is. It's less of a yellow undertone. So I use Prince Meyson's LUTs, which are the signature skin tone. And the one that matches my client's skin the best is number 2. You can see right there, it has taken the yellow completely out of her skin. That's what it was. That's what it is. So this is her actual skin tone. Now you can see by removing the orange from her skin, however, it also removed the orange from her bathing suit. So what we're going to do is we are going to invert our mask and simply paint her skin tone on top. So we're going to go and we're just going to use a little soft brush and paint on the skin, taking care to not get the bathing suit if possible, because it'll just mute the bathing suit. And part of the beauty of this bathing suit was its very bright tone. That was one reason we loved it so much. So we're gonna go over her face, gorgeous, and her hair, because that also had orange in it. Beautiful. So this allowed us to maintain the orange there, but still give her her actual skin tone. Like, seriously, I cannot speak enough to these. Now, this has made her skin a bit darker than it is in real life, but we're going to just bring down the opacity a little bit to bring back a little bit of that warmth, but not a full amount. So these presets allow you, or not presets, sorry, these LUTs allow you to basically customize your client's skin tone in every photo. And I think when most actions and presets are designed for Caucasian skin, I think it's really important for us to take that extra step to ensure that our black clients, as well as our clients of any ethnicity, essentially, that have darker skin tones, also have the opportunity to see themselves accurately reflected in the work that we put out. All right, so that after I've done the skin tone, now we can dick around with the colors here if we wanted to. So I can like with her bathing suit, we can make it more yellow, less yellow. Like, you can literally change the whole color of the bathing suit if you desire. We're probably not going to do that, but I think it's important to know that you can do these things. You can see, though, as I'm adjusting for her bathing suit, it's also adjusting for her body. So we'll have to go in and use that layer mask as well again, and this time paint over top of, oh, don't do that, we're going to do this, and paint over top of just the bathing suit this time to make it more vibrant, more orangey, if that's what you wanted to do. So yeah, so it's basically just all like little layer masks and fun stuff. All right, there we go. And then the sky, I'll probably adjust the color of the sky. So we're gonna do another selective color. Select blue. We can make it purple, but we're not going to. We can make it cyan just for fun. But again, we've been working with a royal blue palette for this particular series, so I'm going to keep that train going. Beautiful. We're going to keep it there and flatten. Last but not least, using Jen Swedine's Finish Up Strong action at a lower opacity, I'm going to do that. It just creates a little bit of oomph for the end product, plus sharpens my image to allow me to finish it. So that, my friends, is that. This is our beauty. Now, if you do want to take it one step further and you want to increase the highlights and kind of give her that more of a sheen because we didn't have oil, I'm going to use Dodge and Burn. So this, again, is a pre-made action that I have that is essentially 2 curves layers, one with highlights, one with shadows. That's going to allow me to paint over where the highlights already currently exist. You see, and you're probably like, what the frick are you doing? Don't worry about it. This is like the lazy man's way of doing this. It's the only way I know how to live my life, okay? And you wanted to know, so this is what you get. You may not like the answer, but it is what it is. All right, so now we're going to go blur it. Blur, blur, blur. And I get it just so it's like blurry enough that it's blend-ish. Now we're going to go blur our highlights. So you're probably like, what the frick is that? Don't worry, we're bringing that opacity like right the frick down. We literally just want it a little bit. So this is what it was. This is what it is. It just gives a little more oomph to your photo, again, to just kind of pop it up a little and make your client's skin tone glow. And again, for clients in the studio, I rarely will do this work unless I'm working with neons, just because it's a totally different ambiance, different environment, and a different purpose. The work I do in the studio is more body acceptance oriented, whereas the stuff that I do creatively is maybe more fantastical, fantasy, and still maintains elements of reality, but ultimately we like to kind of play around a bit more and just I like to challenge myself a bit more in that way. So that's it. That's how I do a photo from start to finish in Photoshop for the most part. So thank you for watching and stay tuned for the next one. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and check back next time for some new tutorials. All right, bye.